Welcome back, everyone. That is Out for Transformation, and take a good dose of it on a daily basis. By all means, this is the channel to be at. If you're subscribed, you already know that. If you don't, you're new to this channel, you may want to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you can actually know when these things go up. I'm your host, Chad Everbroshears, and this is the Maturity Project. Today's conversation is a little bit. It's kind of like it's the elephant in the room thing, right? What I've continuously done has been trying to find the right voice. Like, where do I speak from in a way that could really make a difference for people? Because it absolute clarity for me. I live my life to make a difference. And you cannot make a difference for somebody else and doing it for them. Like, sure, you can do that, get them past this challenge at this moment, but you disarm them for the future. Mine is, how can I inspire somebody to, through insights on how to take specific actions to make their life something they own, something they are so incredibly honored and so respectful and so appreciative that they created it, that they're enlivened, right? Like, his life's going to come at you, man. You're going to get hit with some crazy shit. You're going to get hit with some stuff that we've all kind of told you about along the way. And then you're going to get hit with some unique stuff, right? And like for me, I'm just like, this is it, right? I go through a lot of stuff. I go through so much shit in my life because I'm playing a big game. Right. And I'm not saying nobody else is by any means. What I'm saying is that I live my life at a velocity because I decided to do so. And with that comes an interesting degree of passion and vigor. But also, those things don't come to me on their own. They come with other things, right? Like, passion has more than that, right? It's also, there's something on the backside of it. Because on the front side of passion, you have something that is incredibly driven, enlivened. It has this real sweet fruit of life that really excites somebody to take action, right? Passion has that thing that enlivens you, makes you feel your pulse, realizing at that moment you are fucking alive, right? Passion comes with that, but it has other stuff too, right? It has if somebody is not directly in the same communication of passion, it could come across like, God damn, that guy is intense or whatever, right? Radical or driven past my comfort levels. There's reasons to see that that's not exactly overly desirable, but when you're right there in the focus of it and you have that ability to really understand it, passion is amazing, right? Driven, every single very thing that it would be contribution for progress in this life and to make a difference is something that I'm actively working on cultivating. Well, here's some interesting things to consider. Somebody like me has a lot of challenges you have to deal with because somebody of purpose will have a very driven aspects of all areas of their life. It's just they're just going to be very much so that way. And you can become convinced that they're developed in some areas that they're not quite developed in, but you can hold it against them because you don't understand they're not developed there because they've demonstrated their higher level of development somewhere else. And you're like, well, you're that good at, problem solving. I don't understand why your finances are where they are, as an example. Not to say that's me, but just in general, right? It could be you seem to be so smart, so thought out, but why is it when emotions come into play, you're really not very intelligent, or you can't seem to see what we can see in the story, from the expression of what you're telling us you're going through. So it's fascinating that we seem to want to hide the shitty side of things, like passion, man. You need to see on the other side of what passion's like so that when you're doing it, you don't get chastised or punished because somebody who's not in the direct stream of that passion, something that is absolutely enlivening you, they're on the outside of it. They can't fully clearly see it, but yet their opinion matters enough for you to go, oh, wow, I didn't want you to receive me that way. I didn't realize that you thought I was an asshole, a jerk, or driven, or arrogant, or whatever variation and version they come up with out of that. You don't know, because you won't know until they say something. But if you know that this is something other people have gone through, you can be prepared and say, oh, okay, this is what I've heard already. And that you just weren't in the direct stream of passion And therefore you didn't really get to understand the other you got the outside and the things that are less understood. And I people that are really passionate typically don't have this insight until something happens, right? But you're like, I don't know, I didn't realize you were experiencing me that way. You see, everything comes with more to the economy of it. Every idea has an economy. They have multiple different facets that work together in support of each other, and then into an ancillary value that all works into the foundation of existence itself when it comes to us. So it's not just one thing independently working itself. Nothing's in a vacuum for us. You cannot have love without other aspects. Love needs contrast, right? Love needs all other elements of emotional relationships in order to actually quantify what love is. So we have all these things that are going on that we really need to better understand. Or you don't need to better understand it. I'm going to tell you that it gives a word of precaution because of recent lessons for me, right? Like a recent conversation I had was about fighting. And I don't really fight much. My entire life, I've always looked for resolution to a challenge before putting into to creating a fight. For me, in the intimate relationships where I'm like, boyfriend girlfriend type thing, I've always had the position that there's the door, and I'm not telling you to go there, and I'm not telling you I'm not willing to face this. I'm telling you that if this is too much for you, for who I am, you're welcome to leave. I'm not telling you to leave though. I care about you and I want you here, but I will not force you to stay, nor will I convince you to stay. I'm just giving you the grace that you can be here or you cannot, right? But it's not coming from an arrogant place at all. It's like, I don't want you to suffer if being with me creates suffrage. I don't want you to change me so that you can be with me to be something that you want me to be. I held that position that this is my life and you can enjoy and be a part of that if you choose to, but you don't have to, but you're not going to change me to be someone else. That's where I came from. So it's, I don't intend to come across as arrogant, pompous, or anything. I'm coming across as being an owner of my life and being responsible for who I am. But fights have happened along the way. Occasionally they would come up, but I've recently realized that there's a good degree of the fights that I've had in my life, especially recently, that are a representation of a defense mechanism. So the defense mechanism goes in whenever there's something you don't want to experience again. You kind of block it off, quarantine it up, or put some fortress walls around it so that it's just harder for people to get into. You're guarding yourself because you've experienced something you didn't want to experience. Or you're unhappy about or very dissatisfied about that experience. Therefore, you don't want to go through it again. And it could be a multitude of times you've gone through it. Who the hell knows? It's like completely, it's unique to you, but yet we're human beings. We do share a lot of the same experiences, but different names, different colors, right? That kind of thing. But there's always that. So what I've come to realize is that the defense mechanism goes in place. It's a guard, right? It's this thing that says you cannot come in here. And when that shows up, it also comes with an incantation. And that incantation is the thing that I sealed it off by saying, if you come past this point, you will hurt me this way. Therefore, you can't come here. And this is the statement I tell myself, because that statement's there. That's like that's towards me in a conversation. What I say outwardly is, you have to prove that you need or want to be here, and you're going to have to go through the challenges in order to overcome that particular defense. And that is, you're going to leave me, or you're going to hurt me, or you're just going to neglect me, you're going to use me, whatever those things are, right? You got like something that is the statement that you tell yourself when you're in that moment of like regret that somebody got past that defense. You're like, I can't believe that this person got past this. I knew they were going to hurt me. Well, prior to that recollection of where you say it back, where you realize that you're saying it, is the language that shows up, which is the testing language, trying to prove that that person's out to do it, and the language around that to help prove it, right? You're going to abandon me. Well, yeah, you probably don't even give a damn anyway, right? Like, that's the kind of language used. I'm not saying that I did use that myself. I'm using it as an example because I have my own unique conversations and language that has been accused of being very encrypted, which is true. I used to use a lot of encryption in order to be honest because I was a coward in the sense of being blatantly honest about something, or I was trying to be tactfully honest, or at least, the moral high ground concepts of being honest in a situation where you weren't, right? I was trying to be tactfully honest. What are you talking about? Like I was trying not to hurt you and whatever, the virtuous concepts of dishonesty. It's all bullshit. It's all dishonesty. But some people need finessing to get to the point they can actually tolerate brutal honesty so they don't end up with greater pain and hardship. So as we realize that we have these defenses put in place, then we have the inward statements that we have to ourselves saying, don't let anybody in here. They're going to screw you over. They're going to hurt you here, right? Let's say that it's somebody that you have really been enjoying a relationship with, that they're funny and they're charismatic. And when they start joking with you, you feel like that real close value where you're like, I'll do whatever, man. I'll joke with you about anything. And before you know it, you were like, oh shit, I'm starting to get a case of the feels for this person. Better put up some barriers. Okay, well, next time we start joking, I'm having a great time, and I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. So I don't know about that. Maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe whatever, right? And the language shows up that actually turns into the concepts of a fight, and then that's the outward is that you won't accept me. There's going to be something. It's usually a very simplistic statement. You either won't accept me or reject me, you'll abandon me. You're going to hurt me for your own gain. There's just some basic, almost like something you would hear like I don't know, 13 or 14-year-old say to themselves. That's what they put out there, right? And then the arguments are built around that for validating that particular idea, the narrative about that particular spot of a relationship. So we put the stuff out there, man. What if your relationship fights? Now, we have relationship fights of all types. Sometimes you'll get with somebody with antisocial personality disorders, and they're going to fight with you because they're trying to break down your defenses of reality so that they can put you in a position they control you more in. That's out there. That is absolutely real. It is a thing. The problem is that it is incredibly hard to decipher between somebody who's doing it for their own personal gain in the fight or versus somebody who's just trying to protect themselves. Who are you fighting with? And that's the question. Like for me, with this recent realization is that the arguments that I was having was she wasn't arguing with me. She was arguing with my excuse for why she didn't belong in that place in my life. She was arguing with the desire to validate why no one belongs there. That's what was being argued with, not me. Me, I wanted her in. I wanted to have that relationship is the way that worked. But the defense mechanism with the incantation necessary to hold it in place and to create the value to it. So the defense mechanism wasn't something that could just be pushed over. It was fortified. That's the stuff that she was fighting with. That was a barrier of work to get to that deeper person that I am. Now, this is an interesting, situation because you have to ask yourself the questions. Specifically, how open are you to people? And when you open up new doorways, corridors, because right now modern dating is like you're allowed to have you can be in my neighborhood, and the concept's how close you can be to me. You're not coming home to me. You're going to be in my neighborhood. So you're going to be an acquaintance somewhere along the line. I'll say hi to you. We may go out and have drinks. Who knows? Casual hookups, whatever. But you just live somewhere in the neighborhood. You're not that close to me. I'm not letting you that close to me. Then there is, you're on my street. You stop by. You know who's in the driveway. You understand more about what's going on in my life because you can actually visually see. You can see my house from yours because you're on my block, right? You're on my street. You can see me. Well, you're getting closer. Then there could be, they're trying to get closer. You're like, fuck off, man. Back up, back up, back up. Your house is on the corner, okay? You go back to your house. You're not coming in my kitchen, right? You're not going to get in the doorway. You're not even going to get close enough to my mailbox because fuck you, right? Because you're not allowed to get a piece of me there because you don't deserve it because no one does. I got hurt before. No one deserves this. This is locked off. This is a tomb in my existence. This is where the feral is buried. And guess what? You don't get access. Like that's the thing that we do when it comes to modern dating, right? We won't let people in. And when we finally do, then we figure out how we can try to assassinate their character because they didn't meet the needs that we weren't giving ourselves, right? We're so fucking caught up on design, like hoping somebody else feeds us to love us so that we feel loved. But yet we're not even fucking loving ourselves or giving ourselves that nourishment. And it shows up in ways that we don't know, by the way. I'm 44 years old. I'll be 45 very soon. I have built barriers and boundaries along the way for friends, for personal relationships, for business, to everything because I've been fucked over in every single one of them. But a lot of the reasons why I was fucked over is because I was immature in that moment in that area and I didn't know any better. So I did what you do when that's what you know. But yet I was attached to a different outcome. So I was ready to put it in its own little sarcophagus, right? Its own tomb and saying, nope, that's it. That's what you get. I put some roses in there. Hopefully it smells better, but it's going to decay because I'm not doing anything to nourish. It's a dead vector in your life, right? But there's other parts of you you're open and willing to explore because it's not related to emotion as much. I've had 3 Judases in my personal career, in my professional careers. These people fucking cut me deep. These people completely took me from where I fought like hell for them to get them paid, to get them honored, to get them taken care of, to make sure that they had a perfect opportunity to bring themselves to the table so that they could be victorious. And then they betray me, right? Jesus with the 30 pieces of silver, right? Judas, traded him in for it. That's why I call them my Judases. Now, here's something to keep in mind. I'm using this right now, and I have a pretty good degree of emotion associated with it because my life changed because of them. But here's something that I give grace to because this is required in order to actually overcome it and not be locked in place. I can reclaim it because I can go back to it and be like, yeah, I got fucked over. Because what's necessary to really relay a relationship conversation like that to somebody, especially in a professional way, if you're leading a group of people, which is my ambitions, is to get up and start helping people really fucking knock their life out of the ballpark. You're going to need to hear that I went through some shit. You're going to need to hear that I fought like hell. So I'm reclaiming it again, right? I fought like hell to give these men, these 3 of them are all guys, that I fought like hell to give them amazing opportunities for their life. And as soon as they got the opportunity to do so, they betrayed me and cost me. Usually, like one, it eventually eroded me to the point it cost me my job with the company, which is fine because I got a lot out of that, by the way. I got my personal company out of it or my business out of it. But I worked for another company. And this person got all the credit for me, everything, And you know what? He woke me up because I was on the wrong path. That's not his intention. That was not what he did. That was the conclusion to it that I came to because I kept putting the work in going, why is this? Why is this that? And I could have locked it away with some serious emotional ammunition to fucking open that thing up and be like, let me tell you about this guy. And then just unload history on this fucking guy in every story that I gave when I talked about the first Judas, right? Could easily do that. But instead I'm like, lowest common denominator, I'm there. All right, cool, I'm there. I get it. Lowest common denominator. All right, good. Okay, now, I was there. What was it about that? And like, I got to dissect the entire thing to go, what he did was actually a great thing for me. And it's not optimism to mask it. It's for me to go, shit, Chad, you were on the wrong path. That's a reset, man. You need to put effort in here. You need to change your life here. Stop doing what you were doing. Something interjected. This is correct. You should not be fucking doing this. Go do it for yourself. This company doesn't care for what you offer. Well, I got my business out of it, and I'm pretty goddamn good at it. As far as I fix gyms and go in and turn them around and make them profitable. Go in there, whole thing. Bottom to top, whole goddamn thing. I got that from that. Because my first Judas gave me that gift. He didn't know it. So to this day, he doesn't know it unless he watches this. I've completed my need to communicate with him. If he reaches out to me, by all means, I'll talk to him. I have no grudge against him in that way, and I'll even thank him for it. But I'm not proactively doing it. I got more shit to do anyway. Second, Judas. Love this guy. I really thought he was a great guy. I was one of his groomsmen for his wedding. Same thing, actually, even in the fitness industry, yet again. But this time was with my company, but I stayed in the contract too long. Yeah, that was fucking tough. But I can tell you right now, I'm telling you these stories, and I'm not giving you the entirety of it. I'm giving you a little piece of it. Because I'm telling you that because I can go back and reclaim it. I have not closed it off to the point that I'm some sort of like guru that'd be like, oh, it's all good and love. I feel great about the way the world works. Man. Whatever the hell the flower child mindset is, right? No, I want to hold on to that because whenever I'm up there on stage and I'm talking to people and they're like, have you ever gone through something like this? I can grab that fucking moment and bring it to life again. Because you know what? It hurt like hell to have that betrayal. But I concluded in a way that is incredibly constructive. And I'm not carrying that weight around every day going, oh, fucking Judas. No. I'm going, dude, you redirected me, man. I'm good. But if I need to go back to that moment and go, you motherfucker, I could. I got it, right? I can go right back to that moment. I can bring them back to that lesson if they didn't learn it, and I can give it to them right there. And as I've given it to them, let them know, all right, like an actor, right? In scene. Okay, fantastic. What did you just understand from what we just shared? Because I can tell from my emotional expression to you that you were impacted by that. And now you feel like and you seem like you're in a defense position because you're trying to understand that tidal weight of emotion that you did not understand. You put me through, and I just gave it to you. How do you feel about this? Because I've gone through this and I've gone through my own healing in it, but I'm willing to take you there. But again, if this person were to show up, right? But if there's somebody else to say, who the fuck are you? What have you been through? Let me go back. Let me share with you some of this. Because we do not clean our soul because we've created resolution. We just shed the weight that resolution affords. You still carry it. And if you want to give the person the impact of it, you have multiple ways of offering it, but not all ways that you perceive are the right way because we're so incredibly dynamic. So understand how to sample your way through so you can create a better understanding and outcome. It's that easy, but we have to put the work in. I say it's that easy. It's actually that simple. That easy is always going to be relative because you know what? I struggle with this stuff. I realized recently, as I had mentioned earlier, that somebody incredibly important to me did not understand what she was fighting with. She thought she was fighting with me, not my excuses. She thought she was fighting with a person that'll never overcome something or challenges because fuck it, man, we're all humans. I'm a human just like anybody else. I'm not Mark Zuckerberg. It's a joke, by the way. I don't think he's really a lizard, but whatever. But the point of it is that we're all human, man. And I'm not going to try to sit on this ivory tower going, I have gone through everything, my child. Yeah, I gone through a lot of shit. And you know what? It depends on what's the best way for you to understand that. And actually, it makes the greatest impact because I can share myself in multiple ways, but I always want to share the reality of the outcome. So, who are the people in your life fighting with? Is it your defense mechanisms? Which I'll argue and say almost always that's what it is. But it could also be the offense mechanisms. For me, it's defense mechanisms. I'm not being offensive to the offense of it because I'm not trying to take things away from people. I'm just trying to protect myself. Taking things away from people is what the narcissists do. That's what the antisocial personality disorder peoples do. The sociopaths, psychopaths, and Machiavellians. They're trying to take away something. It's the offense model. I'm in the defense model. You want into my life, I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to protect my heart, my assets of all types. Every single resource I'm going to work on fortifying in such a way. I talked recently about trust, actually. It was the previous episode. Had to do with lies and trust, right? If I believe that you're going to fuck me over, I'm going to do what I need to in order to protect those resources so that the credit line you get will be associated with the resources I'm okay with losing. That's what trust gains access to. Doesn't mean you completely cut them off. Maybe. I mean, it depends on how damaged you are and how much resources you have available to you and what would overextend you. Because if you overextend your resources with an expectation of a return based on any kind of personal relationship or professional, and you don't get that in return, there's a pretty good chance you're going to be pretty upset about it because your resources that you have lost that's outside of your range of comfort could very well remind you on a daily basis you're short in one of those or multiple of those resources: money, attention, emotions, you know, bandwidth, cognitive values, labor, things like that. All of the things that actually qualify as your resources. So, returning back to the if the person knows what they're fighting with. This particular conversation I'm having, somebody made a very, very, very critical decision. And it was based off of a lot of experiences, not realizing exactly what they were fighting with. They just knew they were fighting with me. By the way, fighting with me does not mean like some sort of ridiculous, like, domestic violence type thing or whatever. It's just communication and how things can get a little rough. Yes, I have those too. If you think I don't, I'm sorry. Yes, I do. I never meant to lead anybody to believe that. I'm an incredibly real person. I try to be as fucking transparent as I possibly can. But I gotta tell you what, I have been desperate for people to know who I am because I've done so much work for so long. I felt alienated and isolated because I just do so much work that most people don't stay in the same conversation. They don't communicate the same way. If you think about something often enough and that's the topic you want to have with people, at what point in time do they become satiated when they check out from that conversation, right? You're impassioned by it. You're excited. You're sharing with them. And then all of a sudden one day you're like, yeah, but you realize in the conversation they're just not as interested in it as you are. That happens too. And that happens often because that's the way that we communicate. So you develop yourself so far, you'll realize fewer people want to have meaningful conversations with you because they can't. You've developed yourself too far. And you need to, the small or the big fish in the small pond type thing, you got to find the pond that has the fish communicating in a similar way. That's when you jump over because that's when you're told you need to. Otherwise, you're going to continue to find yourself in situations where people are less and less connected to you, and that's a very lonely and isolated place. So, with that, you also have every single aspect about who you are up until that point, the decisions you've made, the defense mechanisms you put in place overall, just the reality of who you are has been put in there, but nobody's been in between your fucking ears. They've just been there looking in your eyes. They've held your hand. They've been around you, but they don't know this stuff that has been going on with you. They don't know the conclusions that you've made to your thinking models. They don't know when you put the pen of emotion into a conclusive thought, right? I thought this for enough time and I really feel confident that if I put this emotional pen in here that it makes sense and I can hold it there because now I've had those thoughts penned down by an emotional value. So that when those thoughts come up again, I have that emotional value as a precaution to me that if I continue having these thoughts, that emotional value can become unpinned and I got to deal with that chaos again. I've talked about the Pandora's box quite a bit as well, and I'm actively sifting through that fucking box. I'm getting everything out of that son of a bitch because I've realized that it has cultivated the relationships in my life in a way that is not completely honest and completely clear about who I am as a person. So I have worked diligently to become transparent. And that is one of the stages that I'm working on creating inside of the maturity project is becoming transparent. Becoming transparent is as honest as you possibly can be. They see straight through you. They see everything, but that's because you want them to. Nothing is better than to have somebody love you for everything that you are and everything that you're not. To fully accept you. And I can tell you right now, unless you live in a world of delusion, there are very few people, if anybody, truly knows you. Because we have spent our life collecting reasons to distance ourselves from other people. If you want something different in your life, there's a way to do it. And this is something that I am out to accomplish with the Maturity Project. I am not alone in this. And I will get more people that are far more mature than I am in every single of the 8 categories to contribute to this growth. Because this will help humanity. Because we'll have fewer fights because we fucking get it. And when a fight's present, you can have a very effective fight. The kind that really brings you together. Because my previous conversation, as I was talking about somebody was fighting with my defenses, not me. Yeah. Clarity brings people together because they realize that when you're fighting with them, that you're not the enemy. It's a defense that you have to make sure that they deserve getting in close. That's why it's built. But there's a reason why you have it. You've given a credit line to somebody before and they fucked you over. They didn't pay back the resource that you put out. So of course you're going to come up with defense mechanisms. That's the same concepts as credit. You're going to pay a higher premium and a higher interest on things. You're not going to be qualified for as many aspects about getting into me if you don't qualify through the process. And it's not just to pay the dues and on the right times. There's escalating values, kind of like going through your own fucking American Gladiator thing, where you got to figure out how to get over the next challenge that's new and unique, but built a little bit similar to the last ones, but new and unique. You know, you got to keep elevating the challenge. Well, that comes through the defense mechanisms as people are getting closer and closer and closer to the core of who you are, that you're protecting, that innocent baby of emotion that you have within you. I've got it in business because I've been fucked over so many times. I've got it in my personal relationships because I'm 44 and I've never been married. You know, I've got it through my finances by loaning people money or giving them a resource with a financial expectation of return not being done correctly. You know, I'm not a fucking perfect guru. I am working my ass off to be responsible for every single aspect and decision I've made in my life so that I can bring those lessons in a way that is insightful enough to help maybe make a difference for you and give you the right structure and strategy in order to actually accomplish some new things in your life. You don't need to be stuck with what you're stuck with. And the majority of us are stuck with what we're stuck with because it's our fault. We did this to us and we didn't fucking realize it. Because we've been defending ourselves this entire time because you never really got the right guidance on how not to have to defend yourself. I stand for a difference. I stand for a change, and fuck, it's not easy. Especially whenever the world keeps pulling people back down like goddamn crabs in a bucket. You're having a good relationship? Let me slide up in them DMs, girl. Yeah. Oh, you look like you're having so much fun. Ooh, where you guys gonna be next? Whatever the fuck people are doing, man. We just got so many narcissistic traits being rewarded. What we need is a revival of integrity. We need a revival of self-responsibility. We need a revival of loving ourselves again. Because, by the way, narcissists do not love themselves. They're begging and forcing other people to love them because they don't know how to love themselves. Sociopaths and psychopaths lose. They don't have that either, and they're trying because they want somebody to love them right. What life do you want? Do you want to break yourself free of this stuff? It's a process, and I can tell you right now, it's not going to be an easy road. But I can tell you what else. If you think this isn't an easy road, wait till you get the fucking bill for everything else. Oh, I got relationships figured out. I've avoided everything. I didn't put the work into it. I just got divorced. I got half of everything. I got to pay alimony or child support or whatever. It's not always the guy, by the way, that has to do that. It's whoever the greatest breadwinner or income is. They're the ones that usually have to pay the other. So if you think, all right, whatever. How many women out there are into deadbeats, you know? And by the way, when I say deadbeats, I see them as abandoned men. They haven't even got a chance to blossom into men yet. They're boys that are occupying an adult body. They can be grown too. They can be developed. But if you make them into a piece of shit, yeah, they're probably not going to grow for you. I'm not telling you to let them in the house or do everything they need to in order to enable them. Inspire them. Share this video with them. Get them to watch it. Tell them it's required. Watch this video. They will start to see themselves in my words. The same as you do. Because we're human. And that's my goal. Transparency. Show the person. This person's been through some shit. every goddamn episode. Anyway, this person's been through some shit. But I do it for everybody. I just don't do it for myself. Obviously, I got a lot of benefit out of it, but still, I don't do this just for myself. I do it for everybody. Because this is what we're missing. We're missing the guidance. We're missing the structure. We're missing the contribution to each other. Because we're so caught up in our own needs that we're not doing anything for anybody else anymore. And I don't mean doing anything for anybody else, like making them a casserole or loaning them money, but I mean giving them insights onto how to fucking grow up. Like, our parents got so busy dealing with life, finance, credit cards, chasing the Mercedes or the big house or whatever the hell it was that really got them going. Now, my parents, my father was work, my mother was staying home. But we don't have that anymore. That's rare. We have people that pay less attention to their children. And when their children are going through things, they hope somebody else can help them. Because they're not developed to raise them anymore. If you want to see a different future, we got to start fucking being responsible for ourselves. And also extending responsibility to somebody else by inspiring them from our own experiences in life. If you want to see more of that, subscribe to this channel. Share this video with somebody in your life you want to make a meaningful conversation with. You're gonna have to put work in. This is not a go to sleep, set it and forget it kind of thing. You gotta work. But I gotta tell you right now, if you don't do the work, you're gonna put the effort or energy in somewhere else. It gives you a mixed result. When you do the work, you're doing something more organized with a goal in mind so you can qualify change. And before you know it, your life has changed. That is sweeter than yoo-hoo. Because you can make it yourself. It's up to us. We have to do it. So, subscribe to the channel. Reach out to the community. Put a comment in the comment section. Let people know what you're getting out of this. Do it, man. I love to read this stuff from you guys. It helps me understand your contribution to community. I fucking love you guys, man. I do this for the love that I have for people I don't know. And for the people that I do know. All right. God damn. Eventually, I don't know how effective this is going to be when I'm up on stage talking to a bunch of people, because my goals are to get out there and actually make that much of a difference, to speak in large groups and, travel around seminars and just bringing transformational knowledge to people's lives and opportunities. Two parts of what I do. Third one's going to be kind of actually bracketed into a larger field of things. But the first one is that I don't know. Fuck. Clear this shit up. I don't know how much more life I have. I was diagnosed with a condition in my late 20s that, yeah, it's the kind of condition that it could eventually, it could be what takes my life. So, I feel like it's a race to contribute. Because nobody else is. Everyone's so goddamn caught up in what they lack by... You can listen, you can hear it when they talk about what they lack. It shows up in a lot of ways. You know, what they lack is whatever, right? Like, oh, my relationships are shit. Well, you lack a good relationship. But you also probably lack the character to have a good relationship because you haven't worked on yourself and you hope somebody else is fixing you, right? You're just, you'd be better off if you actually had more money. Well, okay, well, do you lack those interpersonal relationships that this other person may have a rich value in, but they just don't have the big bank account, right? Like, people put what they lack out in front. You just don't know it because you don't know what they're saying and how that actually affects you, right? Like, knowing what the person is arguing with, it's a defense mechanism with an incantation that you say that helps hold that defense mechanism in place. If you don't ever have that clarity of thought, you're not going to be able to tell that person so they know what they're arguing with. They think they're just arguing with you. You know? Like, I don't know how much fucking time I got. I don't. There's a thing where it's like, last night I read about it, is every so many years, you're 5% more likely to develop cancer. Well, shit. I'm going to have 20 years of this diagnosis towards the end of my 40s, which I'm not far from it. When I'm 47, I'll have 20 years of this diagnosis. That will have increased it, I believe, 10% for cancer. Do something a meeting. So anyway, whew. Then I got my little guy, my son. He can always watch these videos. Just in case. This is out here so he can know me. So needless to say, I'm driven with a lot of purpose. And the third is that for all the people I don't know yet, or the people that I do know, I want to make a difference. So, 8 different areas of maturity. This is about. Well, I did say I was going to call it the elephant in the room. Holy shit. You could call this the crybaby episode if you want. Shit. Purpose to tears, man. Anyway. There's a lot of different meaningful things in this life. Some of them you don't know yet. Some of them you're walking away from. And some of them you didn't really put the right value on because you were distracted or whatever the hell it was, or you thought you got everything out of it that you were going to get, whatever the fucking thing is. Life's about the experiences that we have. Let's work on them, okay? Subscribe to the channel. Let's hear you in the community. Put a comment in the comment section. I don't need any pity, so I'm not looking for that, so please don't text me with it. Don't put the comments in there about that. I do appreciate the care. I do. I'm just putting this raw video out. Because, god damn it, man, the cavalry ain't coming, it's us. And we need to be as responsible as possible for every single thing that we do and every relationship we have. Our greatest resources, man. We got to be responsible for it. But if you sit back and you're waiting to make an enemy out of a friend or an ally, man, you got some work to do. I've done it. I've done it recently. And there's some things that I'm working on realizing how I got to that and what can I do about it. So, join me in that effort, will you? 8 different areas of maturity. Well, don't ask me how the snot tastes because it's fucking gross. And I have been pulling that shit out of my sinus cavity like crazy. I'm sure you can hear it. Don't ask. It's stupid, but we all do it. Whatever. All right. Till next time, this is the Maturity Project. I am your host, Chad Everett Brochures. And you know what? The path to hell is paved with good intentions. We don't need to make a super highway there, interrupt it, let's go with it, man. It's nobody else is going to do it. We're the cavalry. We got to be the people that stand in that place. If you don't, do not complain for what you are unwilling to do. Or at least if you're going to complain, stop trying to stop others from doing it. Do not be a crab in the bucket. Offer your resources as best as you can. And let somebody else do the fucking work if you don't want to do it. But don't complain and try to stop them. Don't be the problem, be the solution, even if it's only to just to be there to cheer them on and offer some kind of resource. Let somebody else step up. Okay, let's do it together, or just you're still there with me, and just don't stop people from it. All right, they're gonna live their life no matter how much of a mistake you think it is right now. We learn from those too. Don't offset a mistake. Okay, just be there to support people, especially the ones you love. All right, till next time. Let's get up to some stuff. See ya.